Hello, boys and girls. Hujambo, Sawuboni, Salam Alaikum, Agu. Welcome to music and welcome to our world. Today's lesson is part 2. It's actually lesson 6 of music from the continent of Africa. Now, before we go back to the music of Africa, I want to explain to you a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. Now, the purpose of what we're doing, learning about music from other countries, is for the reason of making connections. Have you ever heard those words before from your classroom teacher, maybe, about making connections? When your classroom teacher has talked to you about making connections before, it's usually connected to reading. And one of the goals about making connections for a teacher to teach their students is to let them know that making connections means to connect what you read to your life. Connecting what you read to your life. It may have happened to you, or to a friend, or you may have read about it somewhere else. Making a connection between what you read in one book, connecting it to something you might have read in another book. Connecting what you read in a book to the world around you. Or even connecting what you read in a book to your very own self. I think it's a very important thing to be teaching kids about making connections. And in music, I'm trying to do the same thing. Only instead of we're connecting what you read to your life, we're connecting what you hear to your life. I would like you to think about making connections when you are doing these lessons and connecting what you are listening to in music to your life, connecting it to the world around you, or even connecting it to a book or something that you might have read. And here's why I think that's important. Look at me. When you think about places around the world, what do you connect Mr. Kolak with? What connections do you think Mr. Kolak has to places around the world? Now, most people who don't really know me don't know the answer to that question. But those people who do know me know that there is one country that I'm very closely connected to, and it might not be what you think. Do you remember last 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the music of Asia. And one of the countries that I featured in talking about the music of Asia was this one here, called the country of South Korea. Now, there's many countries that I could have chosen as an example to teach you about music of the world, but one of the countries I chose was South Korea, and I chose it for a very important reason. Mr. Kolak has a strong connection to the country of South Korea. Let me show you how. These two handsome young men are my two sons. This is Will, and this is Micah. His Korean name is Hamin, and his Korean name is Hyun Sung. You see, both of these boys were born in South Korea, and my wife and I adopted them as little baby boys when they were 5 months old and 8 months old. So these young men have been a part of my life for the last 18 years. They were not born in America. They were born in South Korea. And even though we have them here in America, we still like to connect them to things from South Korea. For example, both boys, Will and Micah, study something called Taekwondo. Taekwondo is the official sport of the country of South Korea. It's a martial art. And both of them have studied and earned their black belt in Taekwondo. It's taken them 4 or 5 years to get to that level. But it's something they both wanted to do and something they worked hard. And my wife and I felt that this was a strong way to connect our boys to their homeland, which was South Korea, even though they live in America. Not only that, but this is a picture of my daughter Emily. When my daughter Emily was going to college, she met a man who happens to be from the country of South Korea, whose name is Sato. The two of them fell in love, and you can probably guess what happened. They got married. And Emily and Sato got married here in Illinois, in Chicago, finished up going to school, but after they graduated from college in America, guess what happened? Sato and Emily decided that they were going to move to his home country of South Korea. And so my daughter Emily and my son-in-law Sato live right now in South Korea. 2 years ago, my daughter and my son-in-law had a baby. This is my granddaughter, my very first granddaughter. Her name is Nael. Nael has just celebrated her 2-year-old birthday and lives across the world from me in the country of South Korea. There the three of them are together. Of course, they have to wear masks too, but there they are, my daughter Emily, my son-in-law Sato, and my granddaughter Nael. They live in South Korea right now as we speak. Not only that, my two sons, Will and Micah, my daughter, my son-in-law, and my granddaughter connected to South Korea, but I also have another connection to the country of South Korea. This is my father, Corporal Richard Kolak. And 70 years ago, my father was in the Army and was sent over to help a country who was struggling with another country invading it and try to help this other country to gain their freedom. Guess which country that was? You were right if you said South Korea. 70 years ago, my father fought for the freedom of the people of South Korea, a place that he'd never been to before, never visited before, but he was proud to serve not only our country, but to help out their country as well. And that was over 70 years ago. So you see, the connection to this country called South Korea isn't just something that I picked out of a book. For me, it's very personal. I have a strong connection and a strong interest to what goes on in South Korea. Now, as you're doing these lessons and learning about countries, about other places in the world, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to try to make some connections too. And here's how I'd like you to do that. I would like you maybe to share what you're learning about with people in your family. Maybe with your parents if they're around you, or maybe if you have a grandparent visiting, and if you have a time to show them, maybe pull out one of these videos and pull out some of these things and say, hey, Mr. Kolak talked to me about making connections. Do we have a connection? Does our family have a connection to a country or a nation? Maybe you might find out that somebody in your family actually can speak some words of a different language. Or maybe your parents know how to cook a recipe that's not from America, but from another country. Maybe as you play this music, maybe somebody in your family might say, hey, I know that song, or I heard that song, or I know a song that sounds like that. And maybe you can start having conversations and making connections in your own way with your own family about other countries as well through music. And I hope that this lesson that we're talking about in music will kind of open the door for that to happen, if it already hasn't happened in your own family. Now let's go back to our learning about the music of Africa, and let's check out our lesson in our seesaw. Here we are, lesson number 6. Welcome to our world, lesson 6, Africa. We begin by pushing the add response button, which will take us to this screen, which you should already be familiar with from last week's lesson, lesson number 5. This week, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to listen to the music of another country that you did not listen to last week. Last week, I asked you to choose one of these countries: Tanzania, South Africa, Egypt, Ghana. And I asked you to listen to that one country's songs, a national anthem, a traditional song, a folk instrument, and an example of the popular music. Well, this week I would like for you to listen to all of the countries. I'd like for you to go through all the countries that you didn't listen to last time, and this time listen to them. Listen to each one of these songs, and then when you have done that and listened to all of these songs, I'd like for you to go to the last page of your assignment, page 6, and I'd like for you to tell me, in your opinion, how did you like the music of these countries? I would like for you to use your drawing tool down here and mark one of these faces under each of these countries to let me know, did you like the music of this country? Was the music of this country something that you listened to because you had to, but you wouldn't choose it again? Or is the music of this country something that doesn't interest you at all? And like I said, whatever your opinion is, it's okay with me. I'm just curious to know. And then after you do that, you would click the green button to submit your answer to me. And again, boys and girls, as we're going through these lessons, I hope that you're taking the time not only to do the lessons and to listen to the music, but maybe start some conversations with people in your family, or maybe even people in your neighborhood if you know them well, and ask them about the connections they may have to places around the world. You might be surprised at what you find out. So, until next time, boys and girls, Kwaheri, Hambakale, Ma Salam, Makro. Goodbye for now.